My name is Ben,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is Seasoned Readings.
All right.
Before we just got on, so we're going to talk a little bit, catch up
Yeah,
with each other before we begin, because it's been a week. It has
it has
been,
been.
man, few things worse than having sick children. Just gonna
Oh,
put that out there right now,
yeah,
man.
I'm
It's
good with cat parenting. Don't got to
Yeah,
worry about
but
that.
equally is not maybe not equally as bad, but still bad. When a cat's throwing up, I don't like cleaning up cat puke. I don't like it.
I don't like puke at all, period.
It's
Like,
fair.
no part
Like,
of
yeah, you're
that.
right. I guess there's context there that just puke in general is just no good.
I guess it's
Hopefully they
different though
don't.
when it's your kids versus like other people. I don't have that. Um,
I, yeah, it kind of depends on the age of the child. Like our youngest, she's the one end up throwing up this week, actually last week, and she's young. She's 2.5. It's like you can't really say, "Hey, aim for the bowl." It just doesn't
well,
work.
right. No,
Yeah, you can try, but she's just when it starts coming up, it's just wherever,
yeah.
whatever, whoever in some instances. So
No,
yeah.
I do not envy you or your wife because if this is me in this situation, um, the youngest starts throwing up, I start throwing.
Oh, you're a compassionate.
I'm a
Um,
compassionate person. Yes.
okay, I won't talk about it too much then because I don't
Oh
want
no,
to
this won't bother
induce.
me. I work in
Okay, good.
healthcare, so enough of this does not bother me. But it's just like if it's in my house, if it is occurring next to me or near me, no, thank you.
Yes, but
Oh
also
yeah,
like
no, I feel
I'm
bad
gonna walk.
because I was never the good friend in college who was like, I will hold your hair back. The
Oh
minute I
no.
hear it, I'm like,
You're like,
I'm out of here. I'm gonna go
yeah.
get you some water. I'll leave it outside the door, but I know.
I was off the guy who was, catering to and helping out during the upheaval of stomach contents. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a week.
Sounds like
They're
it.
still they're still sick, but they're a lot better, so that's
Good,
good.
good. Less
Um,
vomiting, I think, is the hope.
yeah, as long yeah. We tried. Okay, here's a fun little anecdote for you and a
Yeah.
um little fun story. I was getting out of the shower the other day, and what happens when you have a family with children, oftentimes towels get shared. It's just
Hmm.
unfortunate, right? Um, I was getting out of the shower the other day, and I reached to grab. I try and keep my towel always, but it never happens that way. So I reached to grab a towel, and there's only one. I'm like, and then which whatever. Then I think back just yesterday, my child had been vomiting, and there was a towel that was used to clean her up, which she was, because, child puking, everyone's getting stuff everywhere. You're like, okay, let's get this in the shower. She disagreed,
No, yeah.
um,
Vehemently,
with
I'm
great
sure.
volume. Oh, yes, yes. Lots of volume and just anger. So she was in the shower for a little bit, not long enough to get bathed properly.
No.
And I had to come up and intervene and I get her out and I put a towel around her. And I'm thinking, like, man, she's probably not clean, but we got to dry her off anyway. Which I'm thinking about now as I'm reaching out towards this towel, trying to remember what color it was that I wrapped her with. As I'm needing a towel to dry off with now that has been sitting in, you know, the, on the drying rack for 24 hours. I'm like, really hope this wasn't the
Oh,
one.
you pray. You pray that you drop that down the chute like immediately.
Sometimes ignorance is better.
Oh,
It's better to forget sometimes.
don't
So
even think about, yeah, it's just like what's done
yeah,
is done.
it's in the past. Let's
Yeah.
hope I let's hope I was still clean after drying off. Let's say that.
I think you were. I'm gonna go with you were
Yeah, me too.
because I don't know a
This
sane
is
person
better
who
to think.
doesn't immediately just like get rid of the nasty towel when they're done with it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like the logic.
and like and you never know though because like there's a lot going on. Like, did that go down? Did we put it away? Did we leave it to dry? Is this the one? Like, anyway. So Here's to hoping it was the cleanest towel available.
And
Well,
fingers crossed for you.
hmm.
Fingers crossed that it was.
Yeah. How's your week been? Everything good? You guys
Oh,
staying
yeah,
free
for
from
me,
illness, hopefully.
absolutely. Yeah, no, fortunately enough, I've not been sick. I've had a little bit of um Amanda shoveling snow and mostly water, I think is finally just roaring at me because I've had the back has been tight this
Oh, I'm
week.
sorry.
Especially
Yeah,
when
just
it's like,
stretching.
yeah, I've just had to stretch. Well, and then like because I just can't stop and I put things off. I've had all my Christmas decorations down. I just haven't taken the time to get them up the ladder into the attic
That's
because
fair. That's the hardest part.
it's a process.
Hardest part.
It is. It really is. I have a great attic because you can stand up in there like once you get up, like it's huge.
Nice.
So you have all this space, but it's just like getting it up the stairs. And of course, like I have to have like an obnoxiously large tree. So
Mm.
it doesn't fit in one box, it's two boxes.
Is,
So just the
is
tree
is
alone.
like is getting up to the attic? Is it like a perilous walk, like steps, like, or is
So
it like?
remember, have you seen Christmas Vacation?
Mhm.
Okay, and you know they're pull down.
Yep. That's what. Yeah,
That
that's
is
what I have.
exactly what I have. So it is just this ladder
Like
that
any misstep, you
unfolds. Yeah,
get
I
any
miss a step
misstep,
and I'm
and
going
it's just
down.
an
Yeah.
injury. I'm not gonna delve into this too much because I know this isn't a podcast about video games, but I do want to bring up I was playing a lot of this game called Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, so I was playing a game called Dragon's Dogma. And it reminds the only reason I think about it right now is because it reminds me a lot of some of the stuff like in the book and a lot of the lore stuff we talk about.
Okay.
Because I know we both like the mythology, and the game is like heavy with the mythology, like a lot of mythical creatures. There's like the hydras, there's
Oh, I love a Hydra.
the harpies, yeah, harpies, of course, dragon's dogma, it's gotta be dragons.
I mean,
Um,
well, are they dragons
they are dragons.
or are they? They're not wyvern.
They are not wyvern. I think the
Okay.
name does have wyvern, but no, it's on fours. It has
Okay.
four, but it can also, it's got like a thumb nail, so it can, like,
I mean,
I'm
I'm
pretty
good with
sure.
it having a thumbnail. I'm
Yeah.
just very.
It's
This is
got
a hill I will die on, and you will
Yeah,
learn this
no.
about me. Is a
We have
dragon
we have
has,
different opinions. We have a different of opinions in dragons. But go ahead. Yeah,
but a
yeah.
dragon has four legs and two wings. Always four legs and two wings. I will die on this hill.
I mean, I say that's like a pretty good. There's some good criteria there. Yeah, like if you have less than if you only got two legs,
Are you a dragon? You're not a
yeah, I don't
dragon.
know. No, you're a T-Rex at that point with wings.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand. Like because this is like this whole argument for me came up with Game of Thrones and their
Oh yeah.
dragons, which are not technically dragons because they don't have four limbs and wings. They are very much more bat-like, which makes them fall more into that wyvern category
Why were they bat-like? It's been so long since I read it.
because their fur. So I don't think in the book they were, but when they animated them for the show, their front
It for
legs
instead of
had their
scales.
wings, so they could walk on all
Oh
fours,
yeah, that's
but their
right. That's
wings
right.
were under their front arms. And I'm
Like
like,
a bat. I
like
see
a
what you're
bat,
saying. Like a
which I
bat.
love a
Yeah.
bat. A bat is very cool. Bats are great,
It's not a dragon.
but it's not a dragon.
Bat's not a dragon.
No.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I don't.
I
Yeah,
have very weird, like pedantic things like this that I would take a stand on and will fight to the death for. And that is,
dragons are one of them. That's fair.
yeah, the other
No,
one.
dragons.
The other one that
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna throw it out there just because I literally had this conversation last night with my partner. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, not a comic book movie.
I am not the person to comment on that or to disagree because yeah, as
I
much as
mean, people
I like
sound
the
off, let us
comics.
know.
Right,
But
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not supposed to be that's not supposed to be canon either, is it? Do you remember,
it's
like, is
not
it
that's
supposed to be?
not. There is
So,
no story that resembles that they
so
could have pulled from.
And I mean, the whole thing, the only problem, I never saw it. I know a little bit about it, just reading like stuff on it. But
Oh, it's very good. It's
the
very
whole
good.
thing,
It's worth watching.
I'll have to check it out. I know like one of the things about Joker is that he never had an origin, right? Like
Yeah.
ever. Like
No.
they like he had one of the few villains in it, not just in Batman's origins, but just all comic books. He was one who just never have, and that I thought that was kind of endearing for the,
Hmm.
for one of the most horrifying, horrific villains of all time.
There's a lot of
But
potential origins, and like one of the like more accepted was the man who laughs, which is a stand, which I think is where they probably pulled some inspiration. But it's a comedian who is married, has a young wife who has a baby on the way, and they are broke. And he turns to a mob dealing to try and get some money to take care of them, take care of his family, and ends up in this horrific accident. And thus the Joker is born. But that is the
gotcha.
closest story to that. And it's even that is so far removed from it. I've always said it is a movie about mental health and social unrest more so than it is a comic book movie. It just uses comic book characters. So they're telling a story using familiar characters.
That's fair.
So that's my mini little hill, other
That's your.
hill that I will fight to the death
I
on
should
this one.
watch it.
You should. It's
I
very
should
good.
watch it.
It's very good.
Most of my Batman references come from the animated series, which is
It's the
what I hear
best.
one of the best.
It
Yeah.
is. There is no one of. It is
Um,
the Kevin
is
Conroy,
is it okay? Cool.
Mark
Rest in
Hamill, a
peace.
Joker. Come on.
Ah, so good.
Harley Quinn's
Even in the
origin.
video games, they both did.
Yeah.
Also came. Yeah, I watched a YouTube segment on that on
Mm-hmm.
like Harley Quinn and like her background and how she was in the animated series
Mm-hmm.
and how they
Arlene
took the
Sorkin.
character and stuff. And it was what's that?
Arlene Sorkin was the original voice actress, who actually was the reason. So, okay, I'm going to get real nerdy on Harley Quinn because I do love
All right.
Harley,
Mhm.
um, because she came from the animated series. So, weird little detour. But Arlene Sorkin was on, I think it was Days of Our Lives. She was a actress, and she did this episode that Bruce Timm saw where she was in a jester costume, which is what gave him the inspiration for Harley.
Interesting.
So then Arlene eventually became the voice actor for Harley Quinn in the animated series.
That's that's cool. That's a cool
Mhm.
story. I
It's a
didn't
great
know
story.
that.
Yeah,
And she nailed it. She's
she did.
phenomenal.
I mean,
She is.
I think
Well,
I like
continue.
Kaylee Coco doing it too.
Hmm.
Um, but she is, yeah, no, I think Arlene is the top tier Harley as the
Harley Quinn.
originator of the character. I don't like Margot Robbie as much, which I know is controversial.
No. Which one's is she the one that was in
She's
is
the
she
one
the one
who's
in the movies
in the
Suicide Squad?
movies. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because she doesn't do the accent.
Oh, she doesn't. I
Harley's
haven't
got
seen
to
that one
have that.
either.
She's got to have that Brooklyn accent,
That draw. Yeah,
that
that draw.
drawl.
Yeah,
There's something to it.
yeah.
And I would have
Yeah.
absolutely accepted that if I know people could struggle with accents. So I absolutely would believe that like they could have tried it and it just didn't work because she couldn't
Yeah,
quite do it. But they needed to leave certain things.
that was one of them.
And that like, well, and I will accept that it's just like she's been out running around the US, so she's lost the really thick part of her accent, but certain words will always stay in that way.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
Because it's like
even if it was like bits and parts.
I had a friend from New York in high school,
Hmm.
who when after he moved to California and stuff, like he really lost a lot of that New York accent, except for when he said dog and Boston.
Dog,
It's a dog. It's always a dog, and
dog.
it's always
Okay,
Boston.
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 Gotcha. Interesting. Interesting.
Because things like that are weird.
Yeah,
So, all right. We've
yeah.
chatted. Do we want to get into Feyre and Tamlin and Lucian some more?
I do. This is okay. Yeah. Spoilers ahead. We're gonna be delving into chapters,
Yes.
I believe, was it, what are we on, 9 or are we on 8?
8,
9.
9, and 10, I think.
8. Okay.
We could probably get through 11.
And 11. Yeah, some of these chapters are pretty small and the
Mhm.
information in them but pretty cool. I think these are pretty cool chapters. I think we're
I
getting
do.
to some of like the lore and the mythical creatures and stuff that we
The
enjoy. So
bog.
the bog, the terrifying bog. I looked over 9, 10, 11, and I did not look over 8, so I'm gonna do it real quick.
8. Yeah, I was gonna say I can lead on 8 if you want, because I did just re-listen to.
Did you?
I
Good
did
for
these
you.
chapters just before. Well, I was like, I'm gonna take a shower. I gotta move laundry over, and these are short. So like I was able to do it in like the 45 minutes before I set us up to record. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
okay.
Um, yeah, this is more of her escaping or wanting to and
Yeah.
plotting,
So the
plotting.
biggest
She's
things that come out of I think chapter 8 here. Again, it's a lot of Feyre kind of talking about the estate and planning to escape. I feel like the biggest thing that comes out of chapter 8 is just that um she steals a knife from the dinner table
right.
because a dinner knife is going to be how she um
Defends
defends
herself.
herself. Yeah.
I think at that point, I remember, I want to say like she knows it's probably pointless, but she can't help herself. It's just like, it's almost like it was like a comfort to have some kind of weapon on her, you know?
Yeah, right.
Um,
It's like
it's
with the
like,
trap. It's like why she set the trap in her room. It just is the thing that allowed her to sleep
yeah,
comfortably. And really, I think we do have to realize that it has only probably been a couple of days
since she's been there, yeah.
since she's been there. It feels like it's forever.
Which is ironically, because as we'll see in like some later, soon, or some middle chapters, things go fast.
They
It's
do.
like
They do. And
we're
we're
gonna
like
we're gonna take we're gonna take
here.
5 chapters to talk about 3 hours, and then we're gonna take one chapter
Mhm.
to talk about 3 months. It's
Yeah,
like
right. Well,
okay,
but
sure,
that's
I get it.
fantasy. I
Oh no,
mean,
no, you
it's
gotta, you can't
books. It's
go
not
through
even just
everything. Yeah, it's not, yeah, nothing against the writing. It's just I always have that weird ironic sense of time when it comes
it's
to
so weird.
reading
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so she takes the knife and she takes it
Mhm.
and hides it, and she's still
Sharp. Yeah,
trying to
she
figure
also
out like,
sharpens it at one point in these chapters.
does she? I forgot about that.
She
Um,
steals a rock
and they
from the
had,
garden and uses that to sharpen her dinner knife. I
does
just
she? I don't remember
She
that. I don't
does.
remember that.
It's later on in these chapters, but I just it's just
Uh-huh.
like it's been one of those moments where I sit there and I just go, "Oh, you." I just want to pat her on the head and just be like, "You're so
Good,
cute.
good for you.
Oh, so good. Look at you out here defending yourself." um,
Yeah, it's she. I like, and knowing a little bit about sharpening, it's kind of funny to think she's just like picking up a rock and trying to like sharpen a knife. But I mean, whatever.
she
Um,
is nothing if not resourceful.
this is true. Also, I kind of get the idea she probably doesn't need to. I mean, unless it's
Yeah,
like a butter knife, at which point you're not going to sharpen a butter knife. But like a steak knife, a
I'm
fairy, a
assuming.
fairy steak. Yeah, if it's like a
Yeah,
fairy snake and a steak knife, they just will it into sharpness. So it's probably sharp enough as it is, you know? It's
right.
like
I think for her, it probably is again. It's a
not cut.
comfort, right?
It's
Make
just
it
it's yeah,
sharp.
just yeah, make it
Let it
sharp.
be.
Done. Okay. Let it. And so it was.
And
Anyway.
so it was. It's true. So
Yeah.
we do find
Yeah.
out a little bit about what their kind of daily routine is looking like in here. And that is that the only meal that she shares with Lucian and Tamlin by requirement every day is dinner.
Right.
So she's only required to spend dinner with them each
Mhm.
evening.
Each evening, yeah.
Mhm.
And
uh,
and I don't remember what she does with her time in this chapter, or if she does anything with her time in this chapter.
it's mainly
Um,
exploring. We get a
yeah.
lot of like she explores the gardens and stuff. Again, talking about like her sisters and how she's gonna try and get home. Like this is her
Mhm.
like the whole first couple of pages is just her again dreaming of
She's
how
got
she's
it.
gonna
She has to.
escape. We gotta find a
Yeah.
loophole.
Loopholes, yes, the loopholes, yeah, yeah. I,
Yes.
not a whole lot going on in these notes though. She does reveal that her mother died when she was young. I think she
Mhm.
talks about her mother, and we see Tamlin
Yes.
kind of consoling her, or giving his condolences, I guess at
Hmm.
least, seeing a very sensitive moment from them, which is kind of telling, like, okay, so they're not all bad, or they're not all
Hmm.
rude,
No, I think
uptight
these are some
Faye.
of the early seeds planting that the affection that I think Lucian and Feyre and Tamlin are all going to have for each other.
Mm,
They're establishing these kind of relationships because they talk to, about how she likes to hunt and she's like, I don't really enjoy it. It's just a thing that I do. They talk
it's
about
like
how
I
old
don't do
she
that for fun. I do
is.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Not a whole lot going on,
But
and
it's
then
getting to know each other is what's
right,
happening.
and our
It's
characters and Feyre.
yes.
Yeah. At the end, she does pack a bag
Yes.
in case she is able to escape, I guess.
Yeah, basically at the end of it, she just goes, she found a satchel, she puts her little stolen life, a spare set of clothes, um, just in case she had to leave at a moment's notice, is kind of how she puts it. Is it's for her,
Cool.
I think it's just the I have it, and here we go. And then that's the end of chapter 8. Like it's very short. Like the dinner and getting to know each other is kind of where it ends. I do think it's funny you start to see Lucian's personality and his jokiness a lot more in it because he talks about how um, one of the things that they do as Fae is snatch human babies from their cradles for changelings, dance with the spirits under the full moon.
Yeah, I feel like he's regularly doing this and just like putting her own understanding of
Their
just
culture and yeah.
I mean not even just yeah, I mean I guess that, but also just like kind of reminding her like how little the humans know, and that that basically she can trust nothing that she knows about
I mean, it is
much of
it's
anything.
I mean, it's very reminiscent of Egret and Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. You know nothing because you
Right.
just know that us as these wildlings, but like you don't understand, the mystic things that we are dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Um, so it's very similar to that. Like kind of these characters are getting to know each other, and we're also debunking everything that you thought you knew about the other.
Hmm.
So then we get into chapter 9, which chapter 9 gets interesting, I think, because this is when
Yeah.
she's decided that Lucian is her way to get Tamlin to release her.
Yes, and that she's going to, and he's made it obvious at this point that he doesn't want her there, and
Mm-hmm.
that she sees that as like almost like a my enemy's enemy is my friend kind of thing. Like, okay, I don't want to be here. He doesn't want me here. Maybe he can help me not be here.
Right. Can he get me
Um,
out of here?
right, yeah, and I think she comes to the understanding at this point, like he's not going to hurt her
Mm-hmm.
because Tamlin's not allowing it, and because that's just not for whatever reason it won't do it. Um, or if he could, would have done it already.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so she's going to appeal to his um
His emissary is how she refers
appeal
to
to,
Lucian. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Um,
Appeal to his discontent for her, and hopefully that leads to something.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, so I don't remember exactly how it starts out, but she eventually finds out he's going
So
on
it
patrol.
actually the chapter starts with her. She's decided what her plan is.
Hmm.
She asks a little bit a quick question of Alice about what Lucian is going to be doing that day, kind of what Tamlin's plan, like just she's
Hmm.
fishing for information of where do I need to
Hmm.
go so I can have my time with Lucian to plead with him and make my case. When she
And right,
runs
she's
into
like, and I
Tamlin.
right, and because she's like this, he can't be around obviously because if he
Mhm.
finds out, then obviously he's gonna put everything to rest.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then he offers to take her
On a
take
he
her
he he says he doesn't have to
riding.
work. Yeah, he asks her to go riding with him. If you want to ride across the grounds, if you're interested in your new residence, I can take you.
Hmm.
Again, she
And
does
she's like,
talk a little bit about him and how
okay, let's hear it.
his
Lay,
usual
lay, lay it
tunic
on me.
was off. The baldric is gone, and the sleeves of his white shirt had been rolled up to the
Rolled
elbows to
up.
reveal the tan forearms corded with muscle. So we are thirsty. We are thirsty.
Oh, raise the meter
Are we
up
up to
another
one
one.
official or
I think it's two.
oh, are we
It's two.
two?
Yep.
Two?
I think so.
I don't know that we're that
Raise
thirsty,
it up to
but
two.
okay. Up to two.
Now
All
two.
right.
Okay. It's up to
Yeah.
two now.
Up to two.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm totally don't want to have anything to do with you, but I'm looking at those forearms and
I mean, they're corded with muscle. That's a good looking
co- co-
forearm.
this is a good looking forearm,
That's
you
a
know?
good looking forearm. Um
Uh, so like, okay, like again, this is normal, right? Like
yeah, this is
this is
absolutely.
okay. Okay. And it's like obvious, like at this point, like, okay, these two are gonna do the thing.
Mhm.
And like, I mean, is this usually telling of in a book like this that they are going to indeed have sex?
It's planting the seeds. It's definitely like this one is a lot
So,
slower than the other one that
mhm.
I'm currently reading right now. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
which is like I think we don't even get to the fifth chapter, and that's when they're finally. I mean,
Go ahead. Right.
like because I'm listening to
It's
the
like
newest Katie Robert in the Dark Olympus series, so they're
Dark
spicy.
Olympus.
Yeah, they're
Hmm.
spicy retellings of like Greek mythology.
Interesting.
The first one is Neon Gods. It's a Persephone and Hades.
I think you told me about a little bit about this already. I don't know if it was
I
on
enjoy
the
them. They're very
podcast or
good.
not, but
They are smutty. Uh, they are the true
sure, sure,
definition of
sure,
like a smutty romance. But they're enjoyable. Who doesn't like a little sexy Hades Persephone action? I mean,
sure.
it is a good
I mean, it's
relationship.
it's basically what the Greek gods did all the time anyway, apparently. So
True,
it's
truly.
it's not
Just
really
maybe
smut, it's
not in this
just
detail.
accurate.
Right. So yeah, so I've been listening to that her newest one that just got released last month or this month.
Gotcha.
Been a couple, I think it's only been out a couple weeks.
Hmm.
Midnight Ruin. If you
Happens
guys,
pretty quick.
yeah, it's very quick. Like I mean, I think it's the first chapter where our female main character tells one of our male love interests that basically you can get out of my way. Or to say, what does she say? She says, either you can fuck me or get out of my way.
Get in my way or out of my way, but make up your
Right. If
minds.
you're insisting that I don't go to the club, then you better be the one fucking me tonight. It's
Interesting.
basically how
Okay.
she puts it. Like, and it is chapter one. Like, it is, there is no,
But he waits till chapter 5 to decide, or is it, or no, that
well, I think
happens.
well, I was gonna say, I think it is. It's only chapter five, I think, because we get so the first chapter is her point of view. The second chapter is his. Third chapter
Oh, I
is the
see. I see.
third in there. What's going to be a triad?
Interesting.
Yeah. So then we get into the action. So it's like the
Okay.
first three chapters seem to happen like at the same time.
It's happening right away, but in terms of the book, and I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Anywho, thirst.
Yeah, we're setting
Our
we're
cup.
setting the seeds. Like
Yeah.
she's planting the ship. She wants us to want her to be with Tamlin, I think is
Yes.
what we're doing here.
Cup. The cup is filling up.
Yes,
Okay. So
it
yeah.
is.
Anyway, so after all this, you know, after witnessing all of these bulging muscles, she just straight up was just like, nah.
Yeah, she does. She tells him and she
No
lies to him.
thanks.
She tells him,
Shouldn't.
I just want to be alone.
It's oh,
Thank you
which
for your
is
offer, but I would like to be alone.
be alone. Yeah, and then and he's not happy. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure he kind of not storms away, but
No, he does. It
grumbles,
just
growls.
he clenched his hands into fists as if fighting against the claws itching to burst out. He didn't reprimand me, didn't do anything other than prowl back to the house without another word. So he does. He just kind of has a little temper tantrum.
And then goes on.
He's like,
Uh, and yeah, and then immediately after she tells him that she wants to be alone, she goes and seeks out
Lucian.
at
Yeah.
Lucian
At the stables, in the
at the
stables.
stables. Yeah,
Because he's
and
supposed to be
she
going
doesn't
on
have
watch or border
yeah
patrol.
border
Yeah.
patrol. Yeah, so yeah, she meets him there. There's an exchange, but she basically pretty easily convinces him that she wants to go along.
Hmm.
And he's like, sure, this should be interesting, kind of a thing. Um, and they start getting into conversation about like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't remember how quickly it is, but I like how Lucian's just straight up like, so when are you gonna ask me to try and get you out of this?
Oh, right.
He just knows. He's like right off, and I'm almost to the point where I'm like, oh, he can read minds. I
Yeah.
don't. Apparently not. He says he can't. He's just very witty and observant. And it's just like it was obvious, you know. And she's dumbfounded. She's like, "That's not what I
Hmm.
was gonna ask about. I was more interested on about this trip we're going on." And he's like, "Nah, no. Look, I know what you're trying to do." And he's like, "But look, it's there's no way around it. There's no way around what you have going on. You have to be here." And she gets pretty defeated about that. She's like, okay, well, that was my only lead, and that's no longer going
Yeah.
to work. And but she does get him to talk more about what's going on, about the blight. He definitely. I remember there's an interesting way. Like, I think the way it ends up being talked about, she mentions the blight, and he's like the blight, and then he realizes that that's what Tamlin was calling whatever's going on. It seems
Yes.
like they did not quite both. Yeah, like yeah, anyway, like Tamlin was using verbiage that he didn't know for some reason, which
Yes.
is a telling for later. But he's like, oh, right, the blight. Well, he tells us about the masks, how they're permanent,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they're put
and
there by like some devious magic, some
so
crazy magic that happened the night of the like a
the,
masquerade.
yeah. Well, and so speaking like the mass, like I want to take that and touch on like there's a point here where like Feyre gets like kind of nasty about the mask that everybody is wearing. So because she mentions early in the chapter that all of the people who work in the stables are wearing the horse masks.
Right.
All the
All the
servants have
servants,
birds.
birds,
And she
and she
makes a
takes that
comment
as,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah, like
go
this
ahead.
was what they were. Basically, she makes a comment about how, like, oh, I bet that's why you made them wear bird masks that night, was because the servants are always chittering away, in secret.
Rumors and yeah.
Right. And Lucian flat out, like, tells her that no, we did this in honor of Tamlin. We chose these masks. We chose to participate in that night, which I think says a lot about who Tamlin is as the master of this castle and as the like high fae kind of lord that we know him to be.
And as well, yeah, and there is just all this constant the constant confliction between like, okay, is he this terribly tempered, like mean, Fey, but but then it's also like, but he's also this really sweet guy, and
Right.
he would never, command or order any of us,
Mm-hmm.
to do something that we didn't want to do, kind of a thing. And so we're getting this kind of like dichotomy with him that can you hear that?
No, I
Hopefully not.
couldn't. No, I was to say
Okay,
I did
good,
not.
perfect. Ignore that. Don't
Oh,
just
I
ignore it.
don't know.
But yeah, so we're definitely learning more about Tamlin and how
Mm-hmm.
he's not what we think he is, right? He meets Feyre on her way to the stables and is trying to appeal to her interests and trying to
Mm-hmm.
get closer to her. We learn here that he's actually a very compassionate and like considerate lord
Employer, I mean, or lord, yeah.
employer. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the fact that his people have such loyalty to him that they wanted to honor his shape shifting abilities. Um, by choosing these different animal masks and that they coordinated
Mhm.
like that, I think does speak a lot to his character without saying anything about the person
Yeah,
he is. It's one of those lovely
yeah.
writing things that they do where it tells you so much about the character.
In
You
just a few
do,
lines,
yeah.
but yeah.
And we do learn that part of his abilities is that he can turn other people into things.
Yeah, because they get into conversation about fairies having powers, and she's like, "Oh
Mhm.
yeah, the one fairy that was a wolf, and
Andrus,
Andros,
yes.
yeah, and he was a wolf. He can turn into a wolf." And that's when Lucian corrects her, and he's like, "No, that was Tamlin's doing.
Mhm.
And then we kind of understand a little bit more about how powerful he is. Like he can turn anyone into anything, kind of deal. Or well, I don't know if it's quite that extensive, but it sure sounds like it.
It, I mean, but
Yeah,
it does. It just says Tam changed him into a wolf so he wouldn't be spotted as a fairy, though his size was probably indicative of enough. So like, yeah,
yeah.
Lucian's like, I can't shapeshift. That's a Tamlin thing. But
And that
Tamlin
also
can
gets
change
into
us.
Yeah, and I think and then that transitions into like I think she asks about all fairies' powers, like, well, are all of them fake or made up? Like, because she's
Right.
still like again still trying to understand the fairy world.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucian's kind of like, kind of prodding her again about what she does and doesn't know. And he's like, "Do you think I can do XYZ?" I forget what one of them is. Does it play out like this? He's like, "It's not. What do you think I can like tell the future or something?" And then she's like, "Is there a fairy that can do that?" Because then she's like,
So
"This
it's not
could
telling
be."
the future, but it is a
What does he
similar
say?
exchange. So basically, we high fae don't have specific powers, is what we learned. So basically, the high fae seems like have all of the magic, whereas the lower fae you are, you only have specific abilities.
Right.
Which is when they gets to what does he
The
say?
cereal.
Yes, they mentioned the
Cereal.
cereal for the first time, which is that so there are fairies who actually answer a question if you trap them.
That's right. That's what it is.
Uh,
And he's like, yeah, because she asks about that, and he says, yeah, that's true. And he starts talking about the cereal, and that's not the right.
or the
Cereal.
cereal,
I
yes.
like cereal just because it's
Me too.
delicious, but
Right?
cereal
It's the cereal.
is how it is pronounced.
Yeah, because we learn how Tam or how Lucian loses his eye.
Oh yeah, we also learned that too.
Yeah,
Yes,
because she asked
a
how he got
woman,
his scar, and
right?
his response is, "I didn't keep my mouth shut when I should have, and was punished." And so she goes, "Oh well, so Tamlin did this," and he's like, "Absolutely not.
No,
He's the one who got me my replacement eye." Um, and then this is when we learn about the Suriel for the first time that they are old and wicked
Mhm.
and not worth the danger of going to find them, but when trapped, will answer any question.
Yeah, and does she prod into I don't know if he tells her about how to trap a cereal yet.
No, we don't
That
know like
comes later.
anything more about the Suriel. It is
Other than
literally
that,
mentioned
yeah, and
when
she's like, but go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's mentioned, and then Lucian all of a sudden whips his eye, or his eye is whirring softly, his head is whipped around because he hears something. And this immediately has the hair on the back of her neck standing on end, and he tells her to put her bow down and look straight ahead. Don't
And
react,
everything,
don't do
yeah.
anything.
He says, don't
Mhm.
acknowledge, don't look at, don't just go forward.
Yep.
Just keep walking forward.
Yep.
And that's kind of how chapter 9 ends.
Is that
And
yeah, because it ends a little bit on a little bit of a cliffhanger of her basically just saying that that's when she felt it, like she felt this
mhm,
presence, um kind of around them.
yeah,
And it starts to get cold because now we're going into chapter 10, and this is when
10.
it's yeah, so it's
It's cold,
cold.
it gets quiet, the forest becomes eerily quiet,
And
I
then she
believe.
mentions
Mhm.
like a vague shimmering in the corner of her vision. So just in the periphery, she has this little shimmery thing happening. Um, and she starts to hear this voice whispering.
Telling
Um,
her things.
yeah, I will grind your bones between my claws. I'll drink your marrow, feast
And
on your
so
flesh. Yeah.
I think I believe she says it's like circling her. Maybe you just
Mhm.
said that. It's like circling around her, and she's like trying her hardest not to look. We find out soon that it's the bog, something called the bog. Are you familiar with is this? I'm not familiar with this. Is
I
this
am
something new
not.
to the story?
it's I don't know if it is exclusive to this. I did not do any like research on that because yeah, like basically she's basically at her breaking point where she wants to follow this creature's instructions when she realizes that Lucian is breathing again, the horses are no longer frozen, and that's when she's like knows it's safe.
Right.
Um,
So I just doing like a Google search. People are like saying that um it might be related to something that's like the boogeyman.
mhm.
It's like a like some kind of specter. But I don't know if there's any direct correlation to yeah, anyway,
Everything,
to
yeah, because I
anything
also
else.
was like, let me do a little bit of a Google search. It looks like
Yeah.
it's not exclusive to acotar, but it looks like acotar is probably the where it's going to be most widely known from. It actually looks like it has some roots within Norway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I found this little link here. Um, and maybe that's just where she gets the name,
Yeah.
is of the bog, as being a place where you can visit Norway. It's visitnorway.com. It's the largest collection
Yeah.
of prehistoric rock.
Well, there you go. That's
There
where
you
it
go.
comes
That's
from.
pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a like creature of lore that I'm or lore that I was familiar with, but it was
no.
interesting. Here is the question that I have though. And
Okay.
I don't think we don't have to worry about spoiling it because I don't
Hmm.
think it's ever really talked about. We do hear about the shimmering in the corners of her eyes,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As if to say like it's something is to be seen but is invisible. Um,
Yes.
this is the first time. This is not the first time. This is not the only time that this happens to her.
This is not the only time. No.
My question is, uh, is there some kind of it doesn't mention I don't know if she mentions smelling any kind of like
Mm-mm.
metal smell,
No.
but is there magic going on? Because
No, it seems at least the way it's described with like because like we get a little bit more of a description, like literally. So it's like it's there, it realizes it can't get her to do what it wants, and it kind of just goes on about its day.
business. Mhm.
Whatever, yeah, whatever its business is. The cold disappears, all of that stuff. And that's when they talk about, and that's when she asks Lucian, she goes, was that the surreal that you mentioned? And he's like, no.
Something far worse,
Yes, that they
I
call
think
the
he says.
bog. You cannot hunt it and you cannot kill it. And that's when, and she asks, why can't you look at it? And she goes, because when you look at it, when you acknowledge it, that's when it becomes real. And
I
that's
think
when
that's
it
pretty
can kill
cool.
you. I
And
loved
yeah,
that lore. I loved that
yeah, yeah,
lore.
that's cool. That is very neat.
Well,
I love
because
that. Go ahead.
no, I was to say it just reminded me of um like as kids, like we always like if you got nervous about something that you saw in the dark in your corner, what did we do? We put our head under our the blanket, like if we can't see it, it's not
It's not
there.
there. Hmm.
And I just so
Yeah,
I just loved that.
it definitely plays on this very mystical idea that like this almost like a between worlds kind of creature, like it's not there but it is, but like if
Hmm.
you think it's there, it reminds me of a couple different things, but what was that one show, Heroes, I think it was called.
Okay. Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yes, that is the one. Thank you. I watched some of it, but there was in the later I didn't watch a lot of it, but I do remember like in the later in the series there was the guy who was like he gets his power from people being afraid of him.
Hmm.
And so it's like, oh, I'm not afraid of you. You're weak. You're useless. And he's like, and that one. But then the guy was like, you aren't afraid of me, but he is. And there's a kid
Right.
there, and the kid obviously didn't know, and so he was like super powerful because the kid was afraid of him. This idea that you can like feed off people's, feed off their fear, feed off their emotions is kind of a neat thing.
Well,
Um,
um it reminds me a lot of so like the stories of the tulpa, And a tulpa is basically like a creature that there's, because of how much thought and energy and belief goes into it, it creates it in the world. And so I just
Interesting.
thought that was right. Like it's one of those things that like in my I love a little cryptid, like because I just like the stories. I love stories and mythology, so it makes sense that I like cryptids. And that's one
Mm.
of those things where they talk about like Slender Man, where
All
it was
right.
like it's this thing that we know, like we can pinpoint the first time like it is mentioned in like our record. But it's like does Slender Man exist now because so much belief has been put into this creature, so much artwork, making imagery of it, like so because it's
Like an
there.
urban
Yeah.
like an urban legend come to life kind of a thing.
Or
Like
it's like
it's
I've seen the terminology used for Santa Claus. Santa Claus is
mm,
real because we believe he is real.
right.
And that's it. Like that's where it like because we put there's energy in thought and there's energy in belief, it creates
That
it. And so
alone
I
is enough to yeah, to
yeah,
create it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it part of our actual like natural world. And so I love seeing that in this kind of context too.
Hmm.
Because I
I will
felt it
s-
was similar.
I will say like on the one of the wikis for acotar
Mm-hmm.
they say it's pronounced bogey, which makes a lot more sense if it was like if it was called bogey.
And then
But
like Boogeyman, yeah.
the narrator um or the narrator of the book though pronounces it bog. So that kind of
Yeah, I've heard it switches.
yeah, okay.
Is
So
that
I wonder.
later in the in later books when they mention it's the bogey? So I don't know. I mean I like bogey better if I'm honest.
It
Because
makes more sense as to like what it is. It's like
well,
a
and it
bogeyman, you know,
exactly it gives it more
boogeyman.
lore. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Like it gives it more lore. So that's why
It's a
I liked
bogey.
it better. Yeah, it's a bogey.
Boogie boogie.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
um,
So yeah, it was really an instance. The narrator when the narrator was doing the voice, it was kind of like it was kind of cheesy. It sounded like
right.
not that the narrators she did good. I mean, you know, God, the number of voices, the sheer number of voices they do in the
Mhm.
narration, it's just phenomenal. It's
Yeah,
just
no, it
crazy.
is. It is.
But when she was doing the one for the bogey bog, like I was like, yeah, okay, like I don't know. I yeah, I don't know. It's just it's weird.
I don't know. It reminded
It
me,
sounded funny.
honestly, it reminded me a little bit of how if you've read like any of Lord of the Rings or any of that, and they talk about Shelob, and it's
Not familiar.
you're not familiar with Shelob. That's but it's just it's
Mm-mm.
the way that they speak. You know, like how when they write in like an accent, the voice that
Right.
she had for this reminded me kind of some of that stuff too. Maybe
I
it's just
gotcha.
me. That could just be me. But
It's times like this, like it's times like this in this chapter where I'm like, I wish I had a book in front of me and I can make the voice myself. Not me like reading out loud like, I'm gonna grade your bones, but like in my head, I can think how
like, how does
deep or
this sound? Like
gravelly or like yeah, like I can make
whispered.
it up myself. That's yeah. This is one of those instances where I wish I was reading it
Yeah.
physically instead of listening to the audiobook. But
Yeah,
it still landed and I liked it.
because
Um,
it's described as ancient and hollow,
right.
and that it's in her mind. So I think that's again very
It's
interesting. Like it's not like she's physically hearing it; it's just like in the back of her brain.
yeah. I think there's definitely like I think it would have been I think it might have been more interesting if like Lucian was like, hey, there's something coming. You're not gonna see or experience or feel it. Like there's nothing there, but you're gonna hear something. Just don't acknowledge it and look straight ahead. Because but I think there could be reason though. The bogey interacting with the environment gives um I don't say gives the illusion, gives the idea that there is something physical there, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah, well,
but
I
it's
guess.
not, but it is. Which but then again, that kind of adds to the mystique of it. But here's what I want to bring up is that she does see the shimmering in the corner of her eyes.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure we keep that in mind as we continue on the next couple chapters.
Yeah.
Um, because it makes me curious as to what's happening right there. And I think I'm kind of wondering if there's some amount of magic actually going on.
I mean,
I mean, I mean, like,
I got the impression at least that like Lucian didn't have a lot of warning for when it kind of came on them.
sure.
So obviously it has similar stealth abilities as probably like the fairy like or they do, where they can silently move.
Hmm.
And then it wanted to be known because maybe it knew Feyre was there and it wanted Feyre because it knew it couldn't break Lucian.
Hmm.
Um,
But okay, this is a bit of a spoiler for chapters to come, but I do want to bring it up. So if you're
okay.
listening, just skip over the next like 15 seconds. I wonder if she is not like they're not casting like Lucian isn't casting a spell on her so that she can't see it.
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
I think I like the idea and I like the thought of it, but the fact that the way he describes it as being it's you can't see it, like because the minute you look at it, the minute you acknowledge it is when it kills you. Hi, cat.
Yeah. Go
Hi, Miss
on.
Nova.
Go on. Nobody wants to see your cat butt. Luckily
That's
it's
true.
it's
It's blurred.
yeah. Censored. Go on.
A
Go.
censored cat
Go.
butt.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I gotta do a
So
quick text, but let's keep talking. I'm
yeah.
guessing
So
she didn't get fed. That's why she's getting a little
up in your face.
um yep.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, just the way
Can
Lucian
you
talks about
feed?
it, it makes me think that he wasn't
He did
doing
not do any kind of magic.
anything.
Okay,
And
that's
that
fair.
might just be like all that she can perceive. It's why she knows that there was something there, but she doesn't know what it was because
Right.
it came from behind them. I think that's also like a important point with this bogey
It came from
bog.
behind,
Well, yeah, because I think
laying
she
down.
sees the
Pla
shimmering because it's coming up behind her and Lucian. It's like sneaking up on them. And that's why he
right,
tells
right,
her,
right,
look
right.
straight ahead. Do
Look straight
not
ahead.
do
Don't
anything.
acknowledge. Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
that's
It's
important.
interesting. All right. Coming up
um,
from behind.
I mean, like the cat, I just saw her
Plant.
come from behind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
let's
So
see.
yeah. Anyway, the the bog goes away.
Mhm. Moves along as
They
quickly as it came.
came, and then they
Kind of
finish
they
their ride.
also Yeah, they kind of also just kind of continue about their business.
I
um
will mention one thing we forgot to talk about, just real quick, is
yeah.
that they do see, I think, a doe or something along the hunting trails, and
Hmm.
then Lucian's like, "Aren't you gonna kill it?" She's like,
Yeah.
"I don't. You guys have plenty. Like, I don't.
Right.
As despite what you might think, I don't do it for fun. You know,
Yeah.
I did it for sustenance and to survive."
Yes.
And and I think that Lucian kind of actually ends up warming up to her a little bit on that little
Hmm.
excursion. I think he's even like even laughs at her when she kind of like snaps back at him once, and he's like, "Oh, you do have some fangs after all," or something like
Yes,
that.
yes, because she takes Alice's advice to heart in that she kind
Hmm.
of gives it back to him when he's getting
Hmm.
nasty or getting sassy. She snaps right back and gives him a little taste
Hmm.
of his own medicine. um
Yeah,
so we do also get a hint at how old Lucian is
that's right, because
because
she
she
talks
asked
about
if
the
he
war,
fought.
and
Yeah, she asked if he
yeah,
fought in the war, and he's like, "Come on, I'm
culture,
not that
no.
old."
I believe
Never.
that's what he said. No.
Oh no,
How
he
old do you
just
think I
winced.
am?
He winced. Shit, Feyre, I'm not that old.
Is that okay? That what it is?
That's
Okay.
how he says it, and I love it.
Shit, damn, not that old.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
how dare
yeah,
you? Like, he's
yeah, yeah,
offended by this.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So yeah, they ride back and
have dinner with Tamlin.
dinner with Tamlin,
Hmm.
and I
She has to face the fact that she lied to Tamlin about wanting to be
that is okay.
alone.
That's what it was, and
Mhm.
Tamlin's kind of putting this together, like something happens, and they're like, we went on a ride
Yep, we went on a hunt. Is
and
yeah,
on a hunt, and then he's like, Tamlin's like,
yeah. I
okay,
heard. I'm
and
aware.
yeah,
Heard about that one.
and then yeah, and then Lucian's like, and we came across the bog. The
Yeah, it was
wait,
in the
okay, let's
forest.
decide. Are we gonna do bog or bogey? What do you want to do?
Let's do
Bogey,
bogey. I like
bogey.
bogey.
Okay,
Yeah.
bogey. All right, that makes more sense too.
Okay.
Like we came across bogey,
Yeah, the bogey
the
was in the
bogey,
forest today.
a bogey, the bogey,
The, the.
the bogey. Okay,
It is
the
like the
bogey,
Ohio State, the bogey.
the the bogey. Yeah, okay, the bogey.
Yeah, it was in the forest
Um,
today.
and then he just starts to what's the word I'm looking for? Just
Yeah, I mean they
not
just.
froth, but just starts to he starts getting heated.
Oh yeah,
Just
because
like
he's
okay.
definitely nervous. You can see that Tamlin is nervous
Hmm.
because like then the questions like start happening. It's like you ran into it. It's like it moved past us, but it did come very close. It must have snuck through the border. Um, and yeah, Tamlin is he is like his canines seem to lengthen. He is getting
See
yeah,
seething. That's what I
he
was
is.
thinking. He is
He
just
is
yeah.
seething.
And so
Yeah.
he
Where?
eventually
Where
just
was it?
yeah. I'm sure his feral claws were coming out or something like that was happening as well. But yeah, he storms off. He's like, he,
Yeah.
dinner ends abruptly and he leaves.
Yep.
Um, and Lucian, and Farah's like, is he going to be okay? I think, and Lucian's like, yeah,
Where is he yeah, where is he
and
going? What's going on?
yeah, he's like, he's going to take care of the bog and he'll be fine.
So,
Most
yep.
likely be fine.
Hunt the bogey. And she's like, you said it couldn't be killed. And he's like, Tam can. There's
Tam
only one
can,
person who
Tam can,
can. It's Tam. Um,
Tam. He's the man.
Tam the
It's
man
Tam. Yeah,
can.
Tam the man. Tam the man. Tam the man can.
That's right.
But you can't, Tam can.
Yep,
That's what you're
it's
saying.
I like and that's very much what Lucian essentially says is that like I couldn't, you can't,
But no,
but Tam can.
but again, just pushing him up to another level. It's just like constant putting this dude on. Like, I think, if I'm being honest, it's one of the reasons why I don't really care for Tamlin so much, is that he's just constantly put on this like pedestal of how powerful he
Yeah.
is and and I get that that's you know I mean I get that's he is very powerful. He is like this unreal being of
Mhm.
just raw magic or whatever. But to a certain extent, it's like you're just further distancing him from your main character. And sometimes I'm like, like maybe he doesn't need to be that powerful,
Yeah.
But anyway, nevertheless, like we get the idea. He's got more than just sexy arms.
He does have more
He
than
also has
sexy arms.
he's got huge magic,
Yeah. He does have
huge
huge
magic.
magic. Huge magic. He's got big magic energy. It
uh,
is just
it's bursting through his tunic
it
or
truly.
his trousers or whatever.
Right. Um so yeah, they kind of
Yeah. Okay.
finish dinner out.
Uh-huh.
Everyone kind of disperses. She goes back to her room. Lucian goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Tam's out, you know, hunting the
Doing
bogey.
his thing.
Yeah,
Right.
she decides to sharpen the knife that she'd hidden away on a bit of stone I'd taken from the garden. And then she realizes that Tamlin still has not returned after all this time has passed. So she decides she's gonna, you know, go to bed. And when she sees something move in the garden, and
And that
she's
leads into does that lead into chapter 11 then?
it does, it does. So the
Yes.
way chapter 10 ends, which I think is interesting, and I think will be a good stopping point for us, um,
Okay.
is that she notices something move, so she kind of is looking out the window, she's watching. It moves a little bit closer and she realizes, oh, it's a fairy. And she's watching this fairy, and then she realizes it's not a fairy, but it is her father.
Yes.
And that's kind of
And
where they end chapter 10. Is she
yeah,
sees her father out in the garden from her
kind of a
window.
big kind of a big couple chapters,
Yeah.
like it's getting a lot of this
They move quick.
suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly like a bunch of fairies and stuff and like like world building, especially in the chapters to come. Uh it,
But we get action
it's
right
interesting.
at the start of 11.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that might be a good place to stop, is leave us on that little bit of a cliffhanger of she seeing her father out of
her
the window.
father
Yeah.
and Prithian and
In
her
Prithian
father and her father who can barely walk
is
somehow
somehow in the
managed.
garden.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
Um,
Okay, like the first, like obviously we've read past this. We know
right,
exactly
we
what's
know.
happening. But like when you first read that, like can you tap into that a little bit? Do you remember kind of your reaction?
My first reaction was obviously like, oh, well, this is, this isn't real. Like,
Okay.
actually, my first thought was like, yeah, this isn't real. But then as I was reading this, I'm like, okay, well, wait, maybe this is real, but this is fishy. Like,
Hmm.
this is super fishy. Like something's obviously going on. And my third reaction was, why doesn't she see that? But,
Right.
but I think, yeah, I don't remember exactly how it goes down, but I think I'm not going to go into it, but the next chapter, she's
Yeah.
definitely like, trick or not, like she needs to go, I think is something as we see in the first chapter. I won't say
Hmm.
much more past that, but yeah. So like, yeah, I don't know.
No,
Part
I
of me
was
is like, go ahead.
I was suspicious. I will say, like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what?
Right. Like,
Hmm.
I don't believe that like, so like if it was, yeah, I mean, like, I think in my one of the things was like if it is him, then the story just broke because
Right.
how does he show up there? And so you kind of like knew something had to be up, something had to be going on. I think,
I
but
do think
I
it.
don't think that SJM was trying to hide it.
No,
I think it was supposed to be a little more obvious to us that it was,
not.
you know, not what it seems to be.
No,
So,
I think.
but that leads into like a good twist as we go into the next chapter and like what it
Mhm.
actually is. So.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that she definitely is setting it up that like we have kind of, I think, been able to piece this together, even though Feyre is such an unreliable narrator. Um, I think because I also, as much as like I was a little bit like shocked. I don't want to say like I was like jaw dropped, like shocked by this, but I was kind of like,
Yeah.
hold on, what, like what's going on here?
Right,
What
yeah.
is this? So I definitely was intrigued to keep reading. Um, but yeah, I was like, I was wondering how it was going to play out because,
Mhm.
especially like in hindsight, like thinking about things, it's like how did that work?
Yeah,
There's no
exactly. And
way that like he knew how to get there, where she is in Prithian. Like it's so large, you have no idea.
I think that, and yeah, at first I was definitely like, this is, I had to say it, but I was like, this is crappy writing. But then I was like, okay, it's not crappy writing. It's actually good writing. She's just, she's purposely leading this on this path. And then we get, yeah, like you said, Feyre being the narrator that she is, kind of trying to believe some of her thought processes are,
Mhm. She
and
definitely
I don't
gets in
know.
her feelings too.
And sometimes I'm like, yep, like because like at first I'm like it was like I said, this isn't real, something's not right, right? It's a trap, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
So but at the same time, like if my broken father was in front of me and it's like trap or not, you're like
You're gonna have
you're
an
pulling at my
emotion, yeah.
heartstrings. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're pulling at my heartstrings. I gotta do something here, and
Mhm.
and I think it becomes obvious that that's what she was, this SJM was trying to do. So
No,
I
I
think she
think
nailed it.
she did a good job. Now, one
Yeah.
last thing that I want to, since we're kind of ended it, and it's just mentioned a lot within these chapters, is Lucian's magic eye. because at one point in this, she mentions, like, can he see out the back of his head with this
Because
eye?
it's rolling
It
around, it's always looking and
whirs.
doing stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it makes noise. Am I like alone in, like, I am picturing it
Ma-
very much like
Mad Eye Moody.
that I'm okay, yes.
Mad Eye Moody. I mean, that's immediately that's what I thought. I was like, okay, so he's Mad Eye Moody. Is that what's going on? Is that who this dude
Right.
is? Okay. Like a sexy Mad Eye Moody.
With red hair.
With, but yeah, right, red hair.
Well, and I
Wearing, I
don't
believe,
think,
white and a
obviously, like, he doesn't
fox
have like the
mask.
strap and stuff that like we see
Yeah.
Mad Eye Moody having, but like he's got this eye that I think can maybe move by itself and of its
It
own
definitely
volition.
it does definitely sounds that way. It's what does it describe as? Just like a metal eye.
It's
Like
a metal eye, is how she
I don't
mentions it. Magic. It's definitely mentioned as magical.
I just imagining like that like socketed into your eye. Like
Right.
I just hope it's like polished real well, because like
Right.
it just like
I mean,
hey,
it's
Lucian, I
also
found this
fairy
spherical
magic.
rock. Just you're right, yeah, yeah.
Well, and I
Tamlin gave me
know
this. It's like, oh, I just
Right,
found it in the
Tamlin gave
yard.
it to him.
He just
So
found it in the
like
yard. It's not
he
magic.
just pulled it
It's
out
like
of
that
another
thing.
fairy. Here you go.
Yeah, just like, oh yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
Right. So it's obviously like it's laced with fairy magic. Like it
It's doing
just
something. It's doing something. It's got
something.
to be a magical artifact of some kind.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah,
I wonder if it's gonna come back because there's enough mention of it.
it has to, right?
Like we have
I,
to get
I,
more answers as the series progresses.
yeah, I guess we're leading this a little bit because they obviously do not mention it in this book. It does stuff in this book, but we're not told what it's doing. So
But again, this is just Feyre being the unreliable narrator that she is. So
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm sure eventually something will come of it because you don't give somebody a crazy whirling, rotating eye. Oh God, here we go again.
and you don't mention it so much.
Just let it pass.
Hi, Nova.
Anyway,
It's like a shark.
it's
Just
the
a day.
bogey. Just don't look at
Don't
it.
look at it. Don't
Just
acknowledge
ignore
it.
it. Don't acknowledge it. It will eat your face. Oh
It
God,
will
here we
eat your
go.
face off once you.
Hi. Yes, go on, please. I know I failed. I am now dead.
You are now dead.
Um,
Well, mine is sleeping under the table, the
ah,
desk.
it sounds pleasant compared to what mine does. Nova just in my face. Like if I'm down here, she's either sleeping someplace. Okay, I think we can say we're finishing up with
Yes.
the story, and we can talk about some cat stuff real quick
Yeah. Let's
before we
have a
leave.
little cat chat.
Just a really quick. We've been going on for a while, so quick cat chat. My cat does this thing. I think it's what most cats do. This is my first cat, so
Okay.
putting that out there.
Second cat.
Well, okay, yeah, I got two at the same time. Milo, my
Yes.
male cat, has since passed. Bless his heart, his little fluffy,
Come here.
furry,
Oh,
plastic eating heart. Um,
they are
she
plastic
she
eating
does this.
gremlins.
Yes, it was his demise. Well, sorry, it wasn't plastic. It was silicone teether, but splitting hairs at that point. Anyway,
Right.
so I'll come down for the night. We lock her downstairs. I have allergies. If the cat is in my bed, it will be an unpleasant night for me. So the cat stays in the basement. It's not inhumane. She's very comfortable down here, I will just say.
Oh no, I.
Um, okay, so just in case anyone's thinking like I'm a terrible person, I swear. Sure. Uh, um, when I do come down, sometimes for the night to play games or whatever it is I'm doing down here, she will be meowing and vying for my affection. At which point I will reach down to try and pet her, and she gets upset.
Yeah.
She does not want to be pet, and then I try not to pet her, and then she gets upset again. It's very confusing. I thought dating was hard, but this cat
No,
seems to
cats
be
are harder.
worse.
Yeah. No, no.
Yeah,
Please don't
it's
step
like
on the computer.
right, right. No, like I'll come down and it's like she wants pet, and I go to pet her, and she's like, I'm like, okay, okay,
Well, but that's
not
also
what you
like the
wanted.
activation noise. If they're sleeping and you touch them and they make that little,
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
activating.
They're activating. So I'm
That's the
activating my
activation.
cat when
You're
I'm coming
activating your
down. Yeah.
cat when they do that.
I don't get it. I still understand. She's gone now. Like that was it. That's all she wanted. She just wanted to make an appearance and then she's gone again. It's just, yeah. I don't know. The strange creatures.
They
Uh,
are not of this world. They are definitely aliens.
in the Witcher series, just cats are it's funny because like any like magical beings, or specifically witchers, whenever they enter a room, cats hate them because they can like smell magic. It's always touched upon and never like fully explained, which I
The
love
cats can smell.
because that's like something that is, for whatever reason, the cats just do not like the Witcher. Like not just girl, but just like I guess all Witchers. But it's just funny because it's never really explained why or how. It's just like they just don't like him. It's like so whenever he's around, they always hiss and then run away. It's funny. It's just like they can smell the magic or something like that, or they can
Well, it's
sense the
because they're
magic.
probably not they're not of the world and therefore are afraid of the Witchers getting rid of them.
Part of the conjunction of the spheres. Sorry, more Witcher stuff. But it's
Yeah.
like anyway, they're like when the thing happened in their world, it's like stuff, the spheres or like the planets or the universe or the um whatever you want to call it, they came together and everybody kind of like swapped. It's like they like, jumped into each other's worlds a little bit, and so that maybe that's when cats came. I
That's
don't
when we
know.
got cats. Because yeah,
Yeah,
they are not of Earth.
no, they are unique. I'll give them
They
that.
they really are a very special type of creature.
Yeah. Okay. I think
All
that's a good
right.
spot to sound
Yeah.
off
So
or
thank
head
you
out.
for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
Check
for
out it.
joining us. Yeah.
I don't, we're not, when we get established on where we're up and posting stuff, we'll direct everybody towards different things to tell me you heard that. Did you hear that?
I heard a little something. Yeah.
And the cat just like, I'm gonna get something. I mean, I'm getting rid of the blur stuff. I'm getting a folding screen to put behind me. But anyway,
Nice.
for now,
I know. Obviously, he
uh,
was in the closet because my closet door is open.
that's funny.
Such
But
a
yeah,
jerk.
thank you for listening. Thank you for checking
Yeah.
in. And
Join us next time when we're going to
join us
do
next
pick up on
time.
chapter 11. Yeah.
We'll see you then.
All right. Bye.
Bye.